Hi there, I'm Jeremiah Murphy. Welcome to Mariculture Minute, a podcast about seaweed, shellfish, and salmon in Alaska. Today we're talking about Alaskan politics and mariculture. And by mariculture, I mean seaweed farming, shellfish farming, like oysters and mussels. In this episode, we're going into that stuff and the Alaska governor's race. So, slip on the trench coat, pop on the press pass, and let's meet rogue sources in parking garages, tape together documents shredded in the thick of the night, and track down surreptitious recordings of backroom deals. Because today, Mariculture Minute is speaking truth to power. Kelp and politics, Alaska's own Watergate. Actually, none of that is happening in this episode. I'm just trying to make politics sound exciting, which I think we will. I get a little carried away sometimes, but we're still going to have fun. Here I am, driving up a hilly road until I find Sitka Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. It's a church. It's also very dark out, and all the cars are squeezed together. I have been emailing all the current candidates in the Alaska governor's race, asking them about kelp and shellfish. I've been back and forth with the Tom Begich for Alaska campaign for over a month, trying to get the gubernatorial candidate's position on mariculture. This was back in November 2025. And at that point, Begich was the only Democrat in the race. The actual election will be in November 2026. Alaska will be voting for a governor, a senator, a rep in Congress, and local elections. So you can still register to vote. I'll put a link in the show notes. The Begich campaign had been very responsive, but I hadn't gotten any answers. I saw something on Facebook that Begich was in Sitka for a town meeting, so I thought, here's my chance. If I can just find a parking space. Inside, there's an audience of about 20. There's also a massive snack table, which looks amazing. I think there was like candy and cookies. But I'm focused. I'm also late and incredibly self-conscious about coming across as an annoying podcaster. So I just grab a seat and wait. The ferry system, healthcare, oil companies, pretty solid topics for a Southeast Alaskan town hall. And then I see my moment.
No, I mean, we're scheduled for another 15 minutes.
Oh, stay. I'll say this thought, though. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, I'm studying aquaculture here in Sitka. I just want to give a little context. First, the audio quality in this part isn't the greatest. The recorder is sitting on my lap. We're in a big room. And while I had emailed questions to the campaign, they didn't know I'd be there asking about kelp, and Begich had already been answering a lot of questions that night. I just want to place his responses in the proper context, that Begich and his staff didn't sit down and type out the answers. He's answering my questions very much in the moment. I was just wondering if Alaska could do anything to help out kelp farmers.
Yes, it could, but you need to work with local communities to determine kelp is what they want you to farm. So this happened in Saxman, where the local community said, we understand they want to do kelp. Kelp is not what we need. We need seaweed, and there's a disconnect between the two. We certainly, they said, support kelp farming, but it needs to be in an area that is conducive to our own subsistence lifestyle too.
So, first, he's bringing up the town of Saxman, Alaska, and talking about the community needs there. I'm not familiar with this example, so I can't add too much more context, but it sounds like he's using Saxman to say kelp farmers should work with communities.
As the one guy said earlier, things are changing. So my argument back, or not argument back because argument's such a hard word, but my comment back would be figure out. Yes, the state can do that. We are actually helping mariculture. We're helping it in terms of shellfish and other things. We have tried to encourage it. We haven't always supported it fully, but my argument would always be the same. when you're developing a new industry, you need to work with the local community. Because if you don't work with the local community, what happens is it all falls apart at some point. So if you're willing to do that, I get to be the great convener and bring people together in an area and say, hey, let's figure out how we merge these two technologies in a way that is conducive to your success and their success. That absolutely is the role of the governor. It's absolutely the role of the state. We can absolutely do that. And that's innovating and creating something new in the state, but doing so with an awareness and a connection to what's going on in the state already.
In case the audio here is hard to make out, Begich says that kelp farmers need to work with their communities. And he's going to go on to say that as governor, he can bring communities and kelp farmers together. So, I ask a follow-up question. Does Begich support a state monitoring program for paralytic shellfish toxin? And he and I both have a little confusion about what the current system is. Just to recap previous episodes, paralytic shellfish poisoning is when shellfish have toxins from algae, which can make eating the shellfish deadly. It can stop your breathing. When there's a lot of this type of algae and toxins in the water, it's called a harmful algal bloom. Labs can test both the shellfish and the water for the potential danger of paralytic shellfish poisoning. My understanding is that for people who get their own shellfish, who go out and dig up their own clams or find their own mussels, they have to rely on a local non-state lab, such as in Sitka, the Sitka tribe of Alaska, for both testing and monitoring notices. And that the funding for those programs, those non-state programs, isn't set in stone. It could change suddenly. That's what I'm curious about. Can the governor help make that harmful algal bloom monitoring program more solid?
I have a second question.
Please.
I'm going
to put the lady in the back.
I was just wondering, is there anything the state can do to monitor the waters for paralytic shellfish toxin?
We're supposed to be doing it now, but I believe we're supposed to be doing it now.
Yeah, the farmers, they send the samples to the state, but the actual, for people who just want to go out and get clams on their own, and feed themselves, it's a little bit more difficult. They have to find
I don't know. But
what's that?
Tribe.
Yeah, but I'm talking about throughout Alaska.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Short answer to a specific question is I don't know.
Okay.
But make some suggestions and send them to me and let me see.
Okay.
Because once I get the ideas, it helps me generate what to do next. This guy lives in Sitka. He works for me. He's a research director of the campaign.
But Begich is honest and says he doesn't know and to send him ideas. Look at me. I've been studying all this for a couple months and already politicians are asking me for my expertise. There is a network of organizations that monitor Alaska waters. AHAB, it looks like a combination of tribal organizations, private groups, and a couple of government agencies. I'll post a link in the show notes. So in summary, Begich answers, communities have to want kelp farms, and as governor, he'd be willing to work from there. Regarding paralytic shellfish poisoning and statewide testing, he'd like more information. If anything, the candidates' responses remind me again how new kelp and shellfish industries are to Alaska. There is now, as of this recording, another Democrat joining the race and around 9 Republican candidates. I reached out to 7 other Republican candidates. I had trouble finding emails for the other 2. And I got 2 responses. The first campaign to respond was Click Bishop. They were real quick. I think I emailed them on a Saturday night, and they got back to me on a Tuesday morning. I asked 4 questions. As governor, would you do anything to promote kelp production in Alaska? 2, would you support a statewide program to monitor coastal waters for paralytic shellfish poisoning blooms? And 3, what's your favorite shellfish or seaweed dish? I also asked at number 4, do you have any other thoughts on Alaskan mariculture? Here we go. I received a response from Shannon Mason, Click Bishop's campaign manager. She writes, we had a lot of fun responding to your questions. Here is a list of our answers. Number 1, would you do anything to promote kelp production? Answer, Absolutely. Kelp production represents one of Alaska's renewable industries. It creates year-round jobs in our coastal communities, helps diversify our economy, and provides a sustainable product that has both local and global markets. As governor, I would work to streamline permitting, support research partnerships with the University of Alaska, and ensure the state has the infrastructure in place to help this industry scale up responsibly. Question 2. Statewide program to monitor coastal waters for PSP, paralytic shellfish poison. Answer, yes. Food safety is critical to both public health and the success of our mariculture sector. A statewide PSP monitoring program would provide certainty to growers, protect Alaskans and visitors, and help open new markets. I believe state and federal collaboration combined with local engagement is the best way to make such a program sustainable long term. Question 3. Favorite shellfish or seaweed dish? I just want to add in a little reporter note here. The answer to this question is in a font that was a different size from the other answers. I don't know if that's important. I just wanted to mention it. Answer. I am a big fan of oysters, but of course, I will eat it all. Question 4. Do you have any other thoughts on Alaskan mariculture? Answer. Mariculture is a natural fit for Alaska. We have the cleanest waters in the world, hardworking people, and a history of feeding others from our seas. This is an industry that can grow while staying true to our values of sustainability and stewardship. I see mariculture as a bridge between traditional resource industries and the new opportunities Alaska needs for the future. So, those are the responses from Click Bishop. The key point I see is that Bishop recognizes the potential of seaweed and shellfish and the need for the state to help the industries. As he writes, scale up responsibly. As for the response to a favorite seaweed or shellfish dish, I will eat it all. I hope Bishop leaves some seaweed brownies and kelp hot sauce for the rest of us. I did email the Begich campaign about Tom Begich's favorite seaweed or shellfish dish. That's a tongue twister. Here's their response. Tom's favorite shellfish dishes are a toss-up between steamed garlic clams and scallops. Republican candidate James Parkin writes, my favorite shellfish dish is a clam cockle chowder. That's probably my favorite response so far. I might actually make that tonight. Sounds delicious on a cold, rainy day. And to address my other questions about mariculture, Parkin responds, my primary purpose in running for governor is to make effective changes to how the state manages money. The changes will ensure a sustainable budget. A sustainable budget would protect the permanent fund, restore the dividend to former levels, and make more money available to fund many projects like yours that under current budget conditions would not be fundable. Parkin also writes, I am concerned about Alaska's king salmon. I would work with those affected by the lower numbers of king salmon and form a plan to return stocks to sustainable levels. Parkin's response highlights his campaign's focus on finances. The permanent fund is something unique to Alaska. I'll include a link that explains it in the show notes. One of the aspects of it is that residents get a check every year. I'll add some more details, like I said, in the show notes. But Parkin also mentions wanting to work on the problem of king salmon. King salmon is another name for Chinook salmon. They are the largest of the Pacific salmon, body-wise, the size of their body. They're big. The king salmon population is low, which is a big issue for fisheries and Alaska's indigenous communities. There's also some interesting research going on about king salmon and heat stress. I'll include some links in the show notes. King salmon is a story worth following. I actually don't know that much about it and would like to know more. So, in conclusion, in this episode, we covered a lot. We heard from 3 Alaskan gubernatorial candidates, James Parkin, Click Bishop, and Tom Begich. some mariculture vocab. We heard the word mariculture itself, kelp, seaweed, king salmon, or Chinook salmon. We heard some Alaskan shellfish mentioned in favorite dishes. That's clams, cockles, and scallops. We also heard the term paralytic shellfish poison, which we've covered in a few previous episodes, and the term harmful algal bloom. In terms of mariculture issues, to briefly summarize the responses, Parkin wants to work on king salmon, Bishop wants to help mariculture grow in Alaska, and Begich wants to help communities and mariculture industries work together. I'll provide some links about the candidates in the show notes, as well as other links including how to register to vote in Alaska, what the permanent fund is, Parkin mentioned that. I also have a link to Alaska's Harmful Algal Bloom Network, which I encourage all candidates to check out. There'll be links to king salmon, and if you want to possibly work with king salmon, kelp, oysters, or all three, I'll include a link to the aquaculture program at the University of Alaska Southeast. I did the program in the fall, and that's where I started this podcast. I also learned how to drive a boat. They're accepting applications now, so I'll include a link if you want to check it out. Special thanks to, here we go, Tom Begich, his deputy campaign manager, Christy Garb, Royal Henderson, another Begich campaign person who talked to me at the Sitka event. Special thanks to Click Bishop and his campaign manager, Shannon Mason. And special thanks to James Parkin. More thanks to Alaska Sea Grant, the University of Alaska Southeast Sitka campus, Professor Angela Bowers, Professor Quentin Fong, Aldo Griffo-Hahn, Sarah Ebersol, Brenna Hawkinson, musical producer Walden Murphy, who performs piano and ukulele for Mariculture Minute. And thanks for listening to Mariculture Minute. I'm Jeremiah Murphy, and I have a few more stories on Alaskan politics and mariculture, hopefully coming soon. I got some responses from a senator, and I want to go into some piece of Alaskan legislation that was just passed in 2024 and is affecting the permitting process. And I talked to a local rep. So some other interesting stuff coming up. If you have any ideas for shows or any questions, please feel free to contact me at kelpshow.com. You can also find Mariculture Minute on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. I'm on Instagram at Kelp Show, although I'm still figuring out how to use Instagram. It's not the greatest way to contact me, but you can email me on the Substack page, which is at kelpshow.com. You can also leave comments on episodes and all that fun stuff. Yeah, that's it. If you enjoy Mariculture Minute, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I see 1 5-star review on Spotify. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. Have a good day. Enjoy the water. It's nice out.